and we want the fans out of their seat. We want to score goals. We want to get them, momentum on our side, and then on the flip side is when we don't have the ball, we got to be dogs.
Cap off the hat with a third one. Header put on frames and Dejas knocks it away.
And we're live. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Afterburn Soccer Show. I'm your host, Nathan Hill. You can follow me over at Afterburn Soccer on X. And with us tonight is our good friend, Jose Carmona. You can follow him at El Chico Carmona on X. Good to see you, Jose. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? I mean, I could be better, but
yeah,
maybe next week.
That's right. We're gonna get into it. It was an uneven weekend. This was not the weekend that FC Dallas fans wanted. After you lose in the home opener in the last 10 minutes of the match, you just give up some goals. You go from what was going to be 3 points to a loss. And the team says, as we talked about last week, says, hey, that's not going to happen again. And then Vancouver came in having just played on Wednesday, traveling all over the place, all over the continent. And they just had a game plan that frustrated FC Dallas to no end and found that one goal. And that was all she wrote. That was all there was to do for Vancouver, just to get those 3 points on the road and for FC Dallas to drop their second straight home match. Fans are rightly, being concerned at this point. It's early in the season. A lot of teams aren't in great form yet, so there's plenty of time. But this is not what any of us wanted when Quill was bringing in a new mentality. It just didn't look good on the field on Saturday. Not the most exciting match to tune into if you're a soccer fan. So let's just start with your reaction, Jose. What did you think of the performance from FC Dallas as they faced Vancouver on Saturday?
Well, I'm not going to make any excuses. I mean, Dallas just got outclassed. They got outclassed for about 80 minutes of the game. And honestly, until Vancouver didn't really start showing any fatigue till like the last 10 minutes of that. And undefeated teams are the most dangerous teams because they haven't lost and they're running on that momentum. Vancouver came in with great momentum. They came off the high of beating Monterrey, midweek, and they just outclassed FC Dallas all over the place. I mean, let's face it. If the Colorado game was played, on FC Dallas half of the pitch, this game was played like pretty much around the box of FC Dallas for a good majority, and it was just hard to watch. I mean, it's tough for I was thinking that if we could hold off until Vancouver got fatigued, and we could go that entire time without a goal, without allowing a goal, then Dallas would have a shot. But Vancouver didn't show, like I said, they didn't show any real fatigue till after they took the lead. And then after that, honestly, if they want to play defense and bunker down the rest of the game, they could have. But they knew they had Dallas on the ropes. and they kept coming, like I said, until like the last 10, 15 minutes when they finally decided to basically close up shop. And honestly, Dallas never really threatened them. It's a harsh reality, but let's face it. We were just talking not so long ago that this is, before we signed Lucho, that this was a wooden spoon team, and they're not a wooden spoon team. It's just Vancouver's just showing us that they are legit. They are starting to. They look like a contender, and yes, to start the 2 losses at home, 4 points on the road. After that high of the 4 points on the road. Dallas hasn't really had an easy schedule, though. If you look at their last 3 opponents, the Rapids, Chicago, Vancouver, all top 10 squads in MLS right now. The only team that they played that isn't a top 10 squad is Houston, and that's the one team that they beat. So we'll get a better feel for this team in the next 2 weeks when they play teams that are more at their level. And hopefully this team can figure something out because, like I said, outclassed, tactics didn't look right, and you can't get the tactics wrong against a team that is just better than you. And I'm sorry to say it, but Vancouver just looked better, and it was hard wash.
Mm-hmm. It was a slog of a match, and the times when it looked like Dallas was getting on the run, getting to a place where they could be dangerous. It just faltered. They picked the wrong pass. It just seemed like Vancouver, a team that was. Yeah.
Vancouver was also very smart with their fouling. My brother-in-law Marcin had to listen to me complain the entire time how Vancouver didn't get a single yellow the entire match. Their fouls were clean, they were timely, and they were just enough to frustrate Dallas. They weren't, they were basically fouling Dallas before they could get going. Dallas wants to hit the ball quick and counter you. Well, Vancouver wasn't allowing that. They were stomping that fire out before it even got going. Yeah. And the few times that Dallas did actually get something going, there was just the finishing was not there. I mean, they had a couple opportunities, in all honesty, and they blew them. I thought I saw old moonshot. The Acosta moonshot made a return on a couple of the actual chances that Dallas had.
Gosh, bad memories. Yeah, but yeah, it just looked like a team that, like they're still figuring out how to play together, and plus, I think just Vancouver had a good game plan of just to really surround Acosta, make him frustrated, and then you even bring in a guy like Bernie. You think, hey, Bernie, you can run at those tired legs, but Bernie then turns the ball over. He just terrible touch. It's just like I don't know if the team is feeling the pressure a little bit or just are trying too hard to make things happen, but. Or just came up against a really good team as well. They didn't have a great day.
It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of a team that's still trying to get to know each other, still trying to figure out their tactics and formation against a team that is just, in great form right now. Vancouver's in great form, and mind you, the first two months of MLS, that's not gonna. There's teams that are contender. They look like contenders right now. That 2 months from now will be struggling. So it's right now. Find out what worked, and tighten things up. And hey, they only allowed 1 goal. I mean, that's a big win for this defense. Sadly to say.
Yeah, I think defensively they were better. Still that one.
They were better, but they were also like in basically like panic defending for the majority of the match because they had no choice. Vancouver was just pouring it on, and like I said, it's. I want to also add that it's a copycat league, and Vancouver simply saw what Chicago did that worked and said, "Hey, we can do that. We can do that." and we can clog up the middle and just keep somebody on the Costa. And if he touches the ball, just follow him, nudge him, frustrate him. And they simply copied the second half of the Chicago playbook and did it even better. And so our next opponent will do the same. I mean, it's not going to be identical, but they're going to incorporate some of what Chicago and Vancouver have done because it has worked.
Well, let's go ahead and jump over to Eric Quill's reaction after the game. And, his energy level was not at an all-time high. But let's just listen into some of his thoughts on what was not working for FC Dallas.
It just was we just couldn't find good rhythm with the ball, which is what we wanted to do tonight, was to try to have large spells of possession because of the nature of what they've been going through. So the bit of the game plan was to try to chew their legs away, but credit to them. They had a great team mentality, team spirit, and they didn't look like a team that played Wednesday. So credit to Vancouver. But we had one real clean run in possession in the first half. They got us into their 18-yard box. We broke them down. But really, other than that, it was, just some sloppiness and some choppiness that never could get, a good rhythm to break them in the ways that we needed to. So
the makings of a coach who is frustrated and disappointed, but also, I think coming to that reality that he's going to have to take some lumps as he adjusts to this league, as he thinks through his tactics and what he can, get out of these players. And I think one of the questions is what's your backup plan, Coach, for a game like that? You can try to grind something out, but what's the tweak? What's the formation tweak? What's the player that we could turn to who can bring some energy? I mean, I think Show and Paxson both would have been interesting players to have in the mix for a match like this or for last week. They're on the mend. Hopefully soon we'll be back in action. And, of course, this new Brazilian defensive midfielder, a 19-year-old who has landed. He's here. He's in practice. Maybe he starts this weekend, because it's clear they need something. I mean, the question for you, Jose, I think we can just chat about here for a minute, is just like, how do you diagnose this? I mean, one, it just wasn't their game. Maybe it just was a off night, and they say, let's not, panic here. It was off night. Every team has an off night. Just keep working the process. But I also think, we need something more from our midfield. I think Ramiro and Sebastian work there. They're hard. But really, they didn't create the turnovers. They seemed a little passive, and maybe that's what Quill wanted. But it seems like it seems like we need some midfielders who are going to have a bit more range, a bit more speed, are going to really create those, win the ball, win those 50-50s, and then kick it forward for the attack. And we're not getting that, especially from a guy like Sebastian Lecce, who's not really, that's not his role. I mean, he's really more of maybe a box-to-box guy, a little more of a attacking-minded central midfielder. But so how do we diagnose this? How does Quill move forward with this?
Well, he has to make changes in the midfield. I mean, some guys. I mean, having Julio back is going to be great. A great
definitely missed him. Yeah.
Boost for this team. Yes, I mean, you want to talk about a guy who has been balling out and was clearly missed. So I think him and Ferrer can start. You got Musa and Acosta, they got to start. But it's got one of the two guys in the middle is going to have to be replaced, and it's either Leggett or Ramiro. And it has to be Leggett, is my guess, because, I mean, Ramiro, regardless of what you think of him, is a better defender than Leggett, and you need him to help protect that back line. And so it's got to be somebody that can sit higher than Leggett, but lower than Acosta. And I mean, it has to be Siki, honestly. My guess is Siki comes in for Leggett. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes in for Ramiro. But I think Siki gets to start this week. You got to shake up that midfield and get something going there, because that midfield pairing of Ramiro and Leggett simply right now it's not working. I mean, they're both good players, but they're not. They don't seem to work well together, or I don't know if it's the game plan. It could simply be what Quill's trying to do. They're not best suited for what he wants them to do. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a shakeup. I don't think the new kid gets a start, but I could see him coming off the bench and getting minutes. Like I said, it's tough when this team has taken leads that there's no defensive substitutes coming in. There's offensive substitutes coming in because those are your best subs. So if this kid can come in and help, if you get one up on this coming weekend on your opponent, and this kid comes in, can help you retain a lead, great. He'll be a great addition. He doesn't have to be the best player. He just has to be a solid defensive sub right now, because we don't have any.
Yeah, this team, and I think the youth part of it, having Pedrinho get his second start of the season so far, it's just showing his youth. I mean, he's a young player. He's an interesting player. But boy, he's one of these guys that's just gonna have to learn a lot as the season goes on and get some consistency. And you hope then Bernie can step in, but Bernie didn't look great. So there's just a lot of these areas on the field when you're missing a key guy like Anderson Julio that really Quill doesn't have a ton of options to go out there and tweak.
Yeah, I agree, but I think starting Pedrinho was a mistake. Kamungo, yes, she's struggling. But of the two, he's the one that can emulate Julio, the better of the two. If Kamungo can break into their attacking third, he just causes chaos, and I think that would have been welcomed. At least to keep them honest. Even if he's turning the ball over, as long as he's turning over on their side of the field, I could have lived with that. And it just, I don't know. I like to see what our what's his name that's missing in action, our other winger that we signed.
Chu, yeah.
Chu. I mean, has that guy been injured? I mean, if
yeah, good question.
Give the guy a shot. I mean, he can't be any worse than Kamungo and Pedrinho. And nothing against Pedrinho. Pedrinho is just still acclimating to this level. And even in North Texas, he was a guy that could disappear for large portions of the game and then suddenly explode and make something happen. And that's what people remembered was when he made stuff happen. And at this level, he has to have more consistency. He can't be Llama 2.0.
Yeah.
Okay? That's basically what he is at this time, what he's looking like. I'm not trying to jinx the guy, but a guy that could disappear for large portions of the season and still end up with 6-7 goals. So
yeah,
we need to lock down that other wing, and I think Farrington may have done enough to seal that. And now we've got to figure out who's going to be the guy behind him and who comes in if Julio or Farrington are not out, because that attack needs to be working to keep that defense protected.
So it's early days, and some of these guys, even a Tariq Scott, as he kind of finds his fitness and getting some minutes with North Texas, he's an option that Quill could experiment with. But yeah, I mean, like Leo Chu is the mystery question right now. Like we know he's, he may not be the best winger in the league, or anything, but he has experience. He's an interesting piece, and at some point we've got to see what he can do. And just a lot of question marks for how Quill goes forward. And of course, maybe this is a process, and maybe it's just we got to give this thing time, and Quill can't panic just yet. But maybe too, they look in the league and look for a winger that might be available too. There's some extra depth there to give another veteran that they can turn to off the bench. But we'll see. It's just a lot of. There's time. The transfer window's not closed. And hey, maybe this team likes to play on the road. Maybe that'll be maybe they're going to go up to RSL this weekend and get a big performance. And we'll find out something about them being on the road. Unlocks the mentality. So how do you translate that to home play?
I mean, frankly, I don't think you need to go trade for another winger. I mean, you have wingers galore. You just have to get them playing up to their potential. We've seen Kamungo play better. Mm-hmm. We know Pedrinho can do things, but he just needs consistency. Farrington looks like a starter. Julio looks like a starter. So we just need to find who the backups are there. But you have options. It's the midfield right now. The midfield is simply not doing enough to protect our back line, which we all know, everyone knows, is a weakness.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if another change would be to bring in a Boubacar for Ibiaga just to give him a look. I mean, yes, Abubakar is known to make mistakes, but it's not like Ibiaga has been playing mistake-free ball.
Yeah.
So I like to see how that goes.
Yeah. So some work ahead. We'll come back and do predictions here in just a moment, but let's shift over to our reserve side. North Texas Soccer Club had a disappointing home opener last week, but this on Friday night welcomed Whitecaps 2 to Choctaw Stadium and proceeded to run out a 3-2 victory. Had its moments, its nervy moments that remind you that this team is young and new, and there's a lot of pieces that are integrating, but we saw a brace from Sam Sarver, super draft pick, nice standout kid from out of Indiana, and really had a nice game. We showed the clip, and in fact, I'll pull it up here real quick here, but nice second goal coming off a cleared corner kick, and just a good moment for him and a good moment for this team. They didn't score in the opening match. They scored 3 here. Were able to hang on to take all 3 points to sort of get their campaign on track. And quite a few call-ups from those youngsters going out to spend some time with the youth national teams and things. So there's some really good things happening there with that squad. But hey, this begins to feel a little bit like, all right, North Texas can be a really good team this year, despite all the turnover and all the changes. It could be really a kind of a reset and a restock of another really competitive year. So I don't know if you got a chance to watch the game, watch highlights or anything.
I watched the game. Yes, I'm a fan, and I like to see how our reserve team's doing. And yeah, like I said, I had questions about who's going to be the guy on the attack that steps up, and I'm very happy to see Sarver doing that, being the guy that's basically saying, I want to take the PK, I want to score. He had a brace. You want to see somebody step up on the attack, and I'm happy that they found that guy that they can build on, and now hopefully they can get the rest of the attack going. But yeah, honestly, the only thing that I think I find amusing is that. So let me just state that I think North Texas is going to be a top team. They're not going to. Maybe they won't be champions this year, but they're going to be a playoff team, and that's because of all the academy kids that they've brought up. Yes, it may be a weakness to other teams, but the academy, all the players, they play the same style, they play the same system. So the odd thing is that they're not running the same system as FC Dallas, which is the one thing that is, we saw this before when he who shall not be named, who is now managing Phoenix, did a similar thing where he ran a completely different offense than the senior squad. But I think this is just because that's what the academy kids know. So I think
Well,
maybe they'll slowly transition to more what FC Dallas is trying to do. But I think right now most of the kids that are coming up from the academy are used to the 4-3-3. So it would be smart to bring them in and get them all playing that system before you slowly switched over to what FC Dallas is doing.
Well, I think the problem is that they don't have a Lucho Acosta kind of player, that really, at that level. And I think
They have.
Caleb Swan. I think in the opening match he started in that more advanced role, but it wasn't quite working. So maybe Gall is like, we're gonna get some form, get some wins, and then we'll start to.
Yeah, no, they have young talent, just not consistent talent. Not someone that's going to come in and like Lucho and change, but they do have young midfielders that galore. It's just that this club mostly produces eights, so they're swimming in eights, and they could use a 10,
Yeah.
But no, I like what I saw from the team from North Texas, and I'm one of these guys that say, hey, they're gonna beat a large portion of teams in the league. They're just gonna suffer against the top tier teams because they're so young, and this club likes to go in like in 2 or 3 year sequences for this team. So this team is basically building for next year, and they'll still be a top team. They'll still be a playoff team. But I mean, if they challenge for a title, I'll be stunned, but happily stunned. I do think the system that our reserve team runs is excellent and should get results.
Well, and Sam Sarver, have heard some good things about him, and so this year is going to be interesting to see if he can become another winger that comes out of this setup. Becomes maybe does well enough to earn that senior spot. I don't know. We'll see. It's just it's kind of fun to see these kids they pick up who need some acclimation, but get that opportunity to really impress and do something special. Dallas has been using North Texas pretty well, it feels like, these past couple of years of kind of stocking the right kind of interesting, intriguing talent. And they got this kid from Nigeria, defensive midfielder that looks like an interesting prospect. So yeah, we got some fun things happening with that team. And of course, the atmosphere of the match was wild too because of the dust storm and everything. It just made for a really surreal sort of experience.
Yeah,
For those kids, like a classic Dust Bowl game, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I wish we would have had that kind of weather for the Vancouver match, because honestly, I think that weather favored Vancouver. Vancouver comes in. It would have been nice to have a hot or dusty day for them to play in. Not to take anything against them. Next, they did dominate it. I'm just saying the weather didn't do us any favor.
Yeah.
A lot of things didn't do us any favor. So it just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
you have to wonder though. You have to wonder also with the stadium construction going on, how much of a real home field this team's going to have. I mean, you're only going to have 11,000 fans out there, and I don't know.
It does. It makes for weird viewing, and I'm sure it's a bit weird for the players.
But I think it's also less intimidating is what I'm getting at. You don't have people on both sides, basically harassing you, and the octaves of the fans isn't as loud. So I think it's closer to a neutral field than anything, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's shift back to FC Dallas as they travel to Salt Lake City this weekend to continue the campaign. 4 points from 4 games is not where they want to be, but hey. And by the way, a lot of Open Cup action this week, which seems early, but and I guess it is. But anyway, it's kind of exciting too to get that.
It is nice and exciting to get that going and see what's going on. It's a lot of soccer, man. I mean, when your team is struggling, it's nice to see other teams and pick, some minor clubs or something to cheer for. For that, see if you can figure out who that Cinderella is going to be.
Yeah, so traveling up to Salt Lake City this Saturday. Let's do some predictions. How do you think? I do think probably the mentality piece is that the way Quill has his team set up, they can play a bit more free flowing on the road. I mean, there's that sense of like, hey, that sort of game plan to be dogs, to get the ball, to counter quickly, to get out on the break, to make things happen. That's what a lot of teams try to do when they're playing away games. They try to stay defensively sound and then just spring on the attack. It's a way to get points in this league. So it seems like maybe that's a little easier. Whereas at home, there's this expectation, hey, we need to be more on the ball. We need to shape the course of the game, and so it's not quite clicking. So I'll be curious to see just how they sort of respond this weekend. How FC Dallas kind of shakes off these past two results. It keeps building on this, but Real Salt Lake are in pretty good form right now. So I'm not feeling super hopeful, but I'll go with the draw, 1-1 draw.
I think 1-1 draw is a. I can go with that. I think there's going to be less pressure on a team on the road than at home, and RSL is RSL a top team? I don't think so. I think they're one of these middle of the, mid-level clubs, and more on the level with FC Dallas than some of the squads that they've played recently. And don't get me wrong, if FC Dallas doesn't get the tactics right, yeah, they'll we'll be begging for them to get a draw. So I'm curious to see what Quill does to shake things, if he does anything to shake it up, or if he just sticks to his guns and says, this is what it's going to be and we're going to make it work. So, Marcin, I'll tell you though, that Marcin watched the game with me. And in the second half, when the second half started, he flat out told me, he says, I hate to tell you this, but they're going to score within the first 10 minutes, Vancouver is. Because you could see that goal was coming.
Yeah.
And he called it, and I didn't like it. And I kind of wish his Rapids would have lost to San Jose, but they're simply a better team than FC Dallas at the moment. So yeah, we'll get there.
Well, yeah. All right. So draws. That's our prediction, and I think that's something the team could really build upon, just to get another point.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little confidence. A little. Honestly, I would love for a 0-0 draw because that defense needs some confidence right now. They need something to basically hang their hats on, which they have not had, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right, Marcin. All right.
Marcin's just he's. I paid a compliment to his team.
But yeah, a lot of that case in point of Colorado beating San Jose. San Jose looked like they were going to be one of the hottest teams. We're crashing back down a little bit. The Quakes crashing back down, as all teams are going to, and even Seattle. Boy, Paul Arriola. I mean, out for the year now. It's just really unfortunate.
That's just brutal. Seeing Paul go out. I mean, but sometimes injuries like that have a lot to do with physical, not being physically fit, or maybe they're pushing him too hard. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's got just too much wear on his legs, and it's hate to see it, but you have to wonder if he was still with us if that would have happened. It would have been like, oh no, here we go again with another guy out. So yeah. My heart goes out for him, but at the same time, part of me in the back of my head is saying, we dodged a bullet, man.
Yeah. Yep, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, let's leave it there then. Of course, I'll be uploading the audio, and you can find us wherever you find podcasts. We appreciate all the support and people listening in. There's quite a few. I've noticed more podcasts out there in this space for FC Dallas fans, so it's good. But it's always good to have people talking.
That's good.
Yeah.
It gives me stuff to listen to, midweek when
different perspectives and what people are hearing. So it's going to be a long season. So I think we just want to encourage FC Dallas fans not to go overboard yet. A lot of room, and the way this roster may shake out here over the next few weeks, the starting lineup and stuff. Quill may be able to find the right levers to sort of to pull.
Honestly,
yeah,
we could simply be seeing a team that's going to be a Jekyll and Hyde squad all season long, and we won't know which one we're getting until that whistle blows, Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and we'll be celebrating one week and crying the next.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you guys. Of course, look at afterburn.soccer. We'll still got some audio with the interview with Caleb Swan to post this week, and do some other stuff with North Texas to cover kind of how they're progressing and how that team is shaking out. So look for some extra stuff this week. Hopefully it's slowing down a little bit for me. The past 2 weeks have been just nuts. And also, hey, top of the morning to you. It's happy St. Patty's Day. If you're drinking green beer, green tea, whatever, enjoy. All right. Thanks, Jose.
Right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right.